Rock, Yahweh, Allah, Shalom, righteous family. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I, mem- I remember picking at, well, not me, I remember hearing kids in America pick at African kids. And I even got picked at also. Like, they'll say something like, you from Africa, or you look like when it comes, they'll say, oh, you look like you from Africa. Uh, they stay in the mud hut. I also remember, picking at African kids. They'll say, oh, you African, y'all don't even got houses over there. Y'all stay in mud huts. And it was almost like a flex that we was over here in America, staying in wooden and brick uh, house, that's got insulation, all that, it's difficult to build. You got all these boards and outlining. You got to make a foundation, and then you got to put insulation in it. Like, it's this smart, intelligent thing to do is to build a house, a wooden house or a brick house. And they build them large and big, upstairs, downstairs, have fans and electricity running all through it, and uh, bathrooms and sewage pipe. And I already told you what I feel about bathrooms and sewer pipes. I feel like it's nasty. The water get recycled through our drinking water. Uh, Different people sit on top of that and let off their toxins. That's what bowel movement is. It's toxins, and it all go to this one place up under the ground. All these pipes everywhere. These pipes that's full of lead and stuff probably pours in the ground, and when you have a backup, and I don't know if y'all ever had sewer backup, all that backup in your yard and all that messes, and they send out everybody boo boo in the country to your city to one place to get filtered out and run through your drinking water again. When in biblical times, or what they would say the old days, it's just a very more simple way to do it. Just dig a hole, boo boo in that hole, and cover it up. No sewer pipes, no recycling the sewer water. It's almost like being complicated to seem smart, but being really foolish and dumb. That's why the Most High said His ways are higher than our ways, and what is wise to people is foolish to the Most High. Like, a lot of things when you look in the scripture, it's very simple, but it's effective and it works with a body. Like, it's perfect, but you know, the devil is the author of confusion. They make these complicated things that really harms the body, the earth, and everything else. But that's a whole nother video about for that stuff. I can go on and on about certain things like linen and wool and the things that we supposed to be wearing that benefit the body, and the clothes that got high don't benefit the body, and so forth with food and so forth and so forth. But yeah, I remember that. I remember, being called an African and saying that I probably stay in a mud house. And I remember other kids picking at Africans and say, you ain't even got a house to stay in. Y'all stay in mud houses. Well, let's hear what this scientist, this rocket scientist, says about mud houses. And look, she even built her own.
I'm a rocket scientist that built her own mud home, transforming it from this to this. Here's what I love about mud homes as a scientist. They stay cool in the summer without AC and warm in the winter. That means no energy bills. I built every floor, wall, even my shower using only clay, sand, straw, lime, wood, and bamboo. No synthetic chemicals means no mold, no allergens, and no toxins in the home. Lime plaster releases negative ions just like a forest does, which means that it cleans the air and promotes a sense of ease. A German study tested this and found that people that live in natural homes get better sleep and even have stronger immune systems. Choosing a mud home is not anti-science. It's embracing what our biology thrives on. I'm a rocket scientist that built her own mud home.
So I mean, you heard it from a rocket science, and this is not the first time I heard it. It was a while back. I was seeing it was somewhere in like this village. It was in a Caucasian village, and I think in Europe here, Europe somewhere. And these people was white people was building mud houses, and they was talking about how it's advanced, and it was some news talk about how it was so these people were so like advanced and intelligent for building these mud houses because of the benefits of the mud houses and all this stuff. And I was like, huh, wait a minute. So some Caucasian, and this was like modern day they built it, and they talk about how amazing these people is for building a mud house when our brothers and sisters on the continent been had mud houses for years and it was looked down on. It was called primitive and backwards, and this is what people do when they don't have intelligence. But as you hear this woman saying, and as the study shows that this is not only better for the environment, but these mud houses is it do the body good. It strengthen your immune system. You get better sleep. You don't in the summertime. It's cool. You don't need AC. In the wintertime, it's warm. Imagine us so intelligent sitting over here in these bricks and wooden house with insulation that get in the mold that you gotta call certain people out to just in case your air vent to get mold and stuff and your house get mold and got spiders and roaches all in it. And if we ain't got AC, we sitting here sweating because we ain't got AC or a heater. So in the winter we freezing in our big amazing house made out of wood and bricks and foundations and wires and all that. Like, but this mud house, you ever wonder like the science behind this? Because when it rains, you don't hear about the mud melting or the mud house turning into mash, and you barely hear about through storms and earthquakes and stuff. Like these things really last. It's the woodens and brick houses that through hurricanes and rain and stuff they get washed away and water damage and all that stuff. But these houses still to the day they stand. You got a wooden house, it rotten, it get old, falls down. You gotta upgrade it and all this stuff. You don't need to do this with a mud house. You don't need AC. You don't need heaters. And you know the ideal is there's a lot of white supremacist mindset that some of our people took on. But they like to hate their own brothers and sisters on the continent. Even Ham that's on the continent, they want to hate on him. Ham is a beautiful, dark, melanated, wise group of people. Hamite, the ones that built the pyramids. Egypt, the great Egypt. Even though a lot of their knowledge and stuff was rooted in paganism and dark magic and witchcraft, another story for the day. But these was intelligent people. And it was so-called black people, and I say so-called because the most darkest black person is not black. It's a dark brown. We are different shades of brown, but still, we shouldn't be calling ourselves brown people. That's just colors. We got nationalities that the Most High gave us, and most of us, a lot of us, that's on the continent and scattered through the diaspora. The Most High called us Israelites. That's who we are. We Israelites, uh, from the line of Shem Hebrews. You can be a Hebrew and not an Israelite. But nevertheless, and excuse me, and you can be from Shem and not be a Hebrew or Israelite. But nevertheless, the so-called black people that was on here before, you know, certain people, they the one who created society. It was so-called black people that created writings. Was the first one to deal in iron and building and running water. Uh, I wish I knew the name that city that they found in Africa. That basically they had running water. That's where the European get the whole uh, sewage system from. But those Africa wasn't using it for that. But yeah, they had running water up underground through the ground, and man, I gotta think of the name. And most I will, I'll make a video about that city that nobody's talk about. But it was like one of the advanced civilizations in Africa. You know, we talk about Egypt, but no, this city right here, and I think they don't talk about it because they can't deny that it wasn't so-called Negroes. You know, today they try to make like the Egyptians was not black, and how foolish of that many people fall for that. But anyway, yes, we built this society. We just don't have control over it right now. But now of course, the earth, the world belongs to the Most High. But when it comes to those who popped off writing in uh, universities and colleges and education, all that started on the continent of Africa. We was the wise ones that the European came along for. What they don't tell you, all those people they talk about, Plato and what's the other dude name that they big up to be they scholars of the day and make like these men went to Egypt and Africa to get this knowledge and understanding. So they didn't come up Plato and the other dude. I can't think his name because I don't care to know their name. You know, these white people they try to big up to make like they the father of science, they the father of thinking and the father of stars and astro. No, they got this from the melanated people that was on the continent of Africa or the continent that we know today as Africa. Nevertheless, these people talking about our ancestors that was on the continent of Africa was rocket science. They understood and knew how to build houses out of mud, not just because let's build houses out of mud, but they had trees. They could have built it out of anything. They could have built it out of leaves, trees. They had stones. They built pyramids, and there's many stones things built out of stone, but they decided to build it out of mud, and nobody asked why, because they was intelligent people. But now today, you got people looking back into the past, looking back on the continent, and adopting many of our ancestors' ways because their ways are better. And people today are overweight, sick, miserable, can't be warm in their house unless they work to death and pay a high heat bill, AC bill, only to can't really stay in their house because they got allergy and they got mold running through their air conditioning system. They have things that keep breaking down, leaks in the roof that got to be repaired. And before I go, I'll mention one other thing about so-called ancient technology or technology that our ancestors used, certain things that people look down to frown upon or say that's primitive. They have this little bow and this little stick to uh, chop up spices. Uh, the spices we use on our food. And you gotta grind it. It's like a little grinding bowl, I think they call it. And they got this little stick. It can be made out of anything. Nowadays they make it kind of out of wood, but it can be made out of like pottery and clay and all that. In this bowl, you this little small bowl and this little uh, wooden or clay or iron stick fit in the bowl, and you put your spices in there. You grind it, and a lot of people today we use our spice already come grind, and I don't really know how they do it, but they probably run it through this big machine to grind it up with all these technologies, and I ain't gonna say technology with all this screws and irons and stuff to do this and that. And even on a small scale, you make them buy something to crush up your season that you buy whole. You probably gotta plug it up and it start running. You press a button and crush it all up. But then you gotta dump that out and clean out the bowl that you used to crush it. And I say all that to say all that complicated plugging it up and cleaning out the bowl when you get finished, and it seems smart and advanced. Oh, I ain't gotta crush it up. But how so simple it is to just crush it up in the bowl. Now you gotta use a little bit of effort, a little bit of muscle, but that's good for the body to use your body. Crush up the spice is natural. You ain't gotta worry about nothing, plugging up nothing. And I just pointed out to say the most high ways are simple, but it's the right way. It's the better way. Some ways are simple, but it's the best way. It's better than anybody can think of. It ain't. It don't have to be complicated to be amazing or intelligent. It just have to be intelligent to be intelligent. And that little bowl to crunch up the spice, it's intelligent. You don't need to plug it up. You don't need to do all that other stuff. Rinse it out, rinse the. Now, of course, once you dump the thing out, you can. But nevertheless, it just proves, and still to this day, those things you can buy those things. A lot of people in America that like cook and chef, they still use those bowls, and they say they like it better because they say the spice is natural, it tastes better, and so forth and so forth. How it's better to use that than to buy your season already crushed up or to use a machine to do it. But I just want to bring this forth because this world has wanted us certain people that have the power of media and control. The scripture says this world has been given over to the evil one, Hasatan. Nevertheless, there's certain people that run this world that's for now got rulership, not ownership but rulership. They like to make like they got ownership, but they ruling, and they like to make us feel like. And when I talk about us, I'm talking about melanated people across the continent of this face of this earth. They like to make us feel like that we're not good enough. Our ways, where we come from, the people we come from, was not good enough, was not smart enough. That to a lot of our people feel like we gotta copy them. We gotta uh, be assimilated in their society and conform to their ways to be so-called civilized and decent, and to learn their intelligence and be smart. And that's the lie that the devil told. That's the lie that we are still, a lot of people are still believing to this day. But I just want to let all of us know that where we come from, our ancestors were very intelligent. We are very intelligent, and you got nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to our ancestors or who we are today. Don't conform. Don't conform. Don't try to be different. Stop putting the chemicals in your hair. Stop putting contacts in your eyes. You can admire something and say, "Oh, that's cool." When I like blue eyes, I think blue eyes are dope. But I can like in something and think it's dope without coveting it or lusting it or wanting to be me or try to take it as my own. A lot of black people, we don't have blue eyes. Love the color of your eyes. Now, and I say that because when I was younger, there was a time when I wanted blue eyes. I was like, man, blue eyes are so dope. But when I grew up and all that was because I was brought up in this society. But when the Most High brought me out the matrix, I realized, yeah, blue eyes are dope, and I still do like blue eyes. But I love my eyes even more because God gave them to me, and I'm not gonna go out to try to mess with somebody to have blue eyes babies or get with a blue eyed woman just because I like blue eyes. No, I can acknowledge, hey, those blue eyes look good and keep moving and still love myself and love who I am. That's the thing. As a people, we need to look at what other people got, whether if it's other black people, material thing, whether people got wisdom or beauty, or they can do certain things that we can't in our own community or outside our community. Tip your hat to it and say that's what's up. But never put anybody or any other race on a pedestal and put yourself down. Because we all great in some area. But nevertheless, and that's how truly wise and superior people move. Superior people don't pick at people. That's things you consider kids do, picking at another race or person. We're grown people. No, we don't pick at people. You're not intelligent for picking at somebody because they different or whatever. That's childish. It's not wise. Wise people acknowledge people difference, whether they appreciate it like or not, and move on. But as always, let y'all be true and every man a lie. Till next time, Shalom.